Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Summer School. Today, we are going to be talking all things advice. I submitted a little question box on my Instagram stories, and people asked for advice on certain things. So, we're going to hit a couple of those, probably all of them, because they were mixed with hot takes. So, there's probably about like 6 or 7. So, I think I'll be able to get through all of them, whereas in the past advice column episodes, I've had to cut it short. So, yeah, we're going to get into advice. But before we get into advice, I'll go over some life updates. Currently, baby Georgia is, I think, a little over maybe 7 weeks old, and she has evolved. She doesn't cry near as much. Life feels so much more peaceful. We are currently still working on launching Summer School, the subscription platform. So if you haven't heard about that in other podcast episodes, Summer School, like, of course, there's the podcast, but Summer School is becoming like a school. So as of hopefully March 1st, you will be able to pay a like low price subscription payment monthly to be enrolled in Summer School, which will be like a community-based educational platform. It'll have classes from me, classes from guest teachers. There'll be exclusive podcast episodes where when I have a guest on the podcast, anyone in that community can comment questions they'd like to ask that guest, and then I will ask them to the guest. So the community will get exclusive, basically Q&As with all of like any like guest on the podcast. Maybe not every single guest, but certain guests, about monthly. So it'll be super fun. It's going to be such a blast. The community aspect, when we have meetups, they might be called field trips. And when we have camps, of course, they're called summer camp. We've already had one of those before. But overall, I'm so stoked. I've been building the website and the subscription platform for both because Summer School is going to host all of my personal education as well. So it's going to be moving away from my photography website. That way I can keep that for clients and clients only. So yeah, lots of change, and all while having a newborn who is almost not a newborn anymore. But yeah, she is the cutest little thing. She's currently crying. I can hear her. You guys probably can't. But it's about time for her nap. So anyways, life is crazy. If you're a mom and a photographer, you probably understand it's like wild to balance all of this, but we're doing it. We have our first travel wedding since having a baby next week, I think, maybe the week after. And I'm hoping that she stays in this like doesn't cry much phase because we have our first wedding back is a 3-day wedding. So that's like kind of wild to endeavor into as the first wedding, bringing her on a plane, not even just like the first wedding back, but like we're also having to fly there, which is wild. So yeah, currently figuring out all the things, portable breast bumps, portable cribs that we can bring with us, like how to fly with all of this. It's mad. So if you guys have any advice for me, feel free to hit me up in the DMs and tell me how you like traveling. This isn't advice column for y'all, but feel free. Go ahead, help me out because I have no idea what I'm doing and I'm feeling decent, but I still have no idea what I'm doing. I'm like, how do I get 5 days worth of milk to this other city? I have no idea. I mean, I've been YouTubing it, but like, it's not the easiest endeavor. So yeah, life is wild and you guys need to stay tuned. Definitely there will be a like waitlist email list in the show notes and in the description on the blog, everything below and on the website where you can put your email in, and when we launch Summer School, the subscription platform, you can be one of the first to join. And there might be exclusive perks to doing that. There's already 2 freebies inside of it. So just joining alone, you get the pricing guide for free and you get a thank you like postcard template for free. So the pricing guide is a pricing template where you can input all of your own information and use that to send to your clients to display your pricing and packaging. It's what I use to send to my clients, literally the same exact template. Like you have the same one as me. So anyways, I sell it on my website for, I think, oh my goodness, I have no idea, maybe like $45. And I think the subscription will be near that price. So instead of buying the pricing template, you can join the subscription, get it for free, and get the postcard template for free. And obviously a million classes and classes to come every single month. So it's going to be so good. I'm so excited. I don't currently feel like there's anything like this in the industry. There is like maybe like 2 to maybe 4 subscription platforms I know of right now. Not One of them has guests, so it may be similar to that. But this whole summer school brand, like I just feel like it makes it different. And the community will be inside of the platform. So you don't have to go to Facebook. You don't have to go to Instagram to engage with everyone. You can chat with everyone inside of the platform. So anyways, enough about me rambling about this new thing. But as you can tell, I'm so excited. And I'm hoping it's coming March 1st, but I just cannot guarantee a launch date with a newborn. It's just like life is psycho, but almost everything's built out. I'm just waiting for a couple of the amazing guest classes for the first launch. So we are hitting the ground running with not only me, but also guests in the launch. So it's going to be just like amazing. Anyways, on to advice. I'm going to pull up the advice questions. Let's see. I made a whole album of it. Okay. Here we go. Let's start with the first one. For marketing, I normally just post on Instagram and hope to get a few inquiries. It has worked, but it feels not strategic. How do I create a good marketing strategy? I mean, if we were going to actually talk marketing strategy, we could talk for like hours. But in my opinion, you're right. That is not strategic at all. Like the advice I'd give you is that is not really a strategy at all. Posting on Instagram, while it is maybe a platform to bring you leads and inquiries, and it can do that, to just like post with no intention and no plan and no strategy, of course there is no strategy in that. So, I mean, I would first look at like, what is your ideal client? If you're a wedding photographer, I have no idea who submitted this, so I don't know what kind of photographer they are, but say you are a wedding photographer. What kind of weddings do you want to book? What kind of clientele do you want that to be? And then go from there. So say you want to book this certain clientele. Where are they? How do you reach them? Is it on Instagram? Are they on Instagram? So things that might play into that might be money, how much they're willing to spend, what kind of look they're going for, maybe where they're searching for their vendors, how are they getting their vendors? Are their vendors coming through wedding planners? Are their vendors coming, like, are they getting their vendors themselves? Like, how is all of this happening? Because all of that will play into how you market yourself strategically. So then you know who you want to attract, and then you need to look at how you want to attract them. So literally just write this down. These are the type of people I want to book. Where would those kind of people be booking? And now how do I meet those people in those places? Who, where, how? Yes, that would be your hierarchy. So that would be how I would say, like, start working on a strategy. I know it sounds so simple, but to just post on Instagram, you might get some inquiries, but with no strategy, I just don't think it's a good plan. It's not a good idea, and there's no like longevity or sustainability in that. Instagram, in my opinion, without a strategy is just kind of useless. Like, if you just aimlessly post, I just don't think that's good for any business, you know? Anyways, we're going to move on to the next one because it's hard for me without more details to give you, like, how do I create a good strategy? I would say figure out your who, figure out where they're finding their vendors, and then figure out how you will meet them where they're at. If they are searching on Instagram, how do you post on Instagram with intention? How do you show up daily? How do you build a personal brand? If they're on TikTok, how do you get in those places? If they're searching Google, how do you rank on Google? If they're finding their people through wedding planners or through their venue, through in-person connections, how do you meet those people? How do you get yourself in those spaces? I honestly think the who, where, how method, figure that out, start there, and then build your strategy. Okay. Advice on discovery calls. I charge $5,000 to $7,000 for weddings, and I get a lot of emails after the call saying I'm out of budget. How do I convince them I'm worth it? Okay, my number one question would be, do you show some of your pricing on your website? Because in my opinion, if you don't, this could be an easy reason that people are saying you're out of budget or kind of ghosting you after the fact. I'm one of those people that with the right strategies in place, I truly don't think price is ever actually the issue. Price is never the reason people Okay, I'm not saying never. Price most likely will not be the reason someone won't book you with the right strategies in place. If there's nothing showing anything about your pricing on your website, I'm not saying that you need to give every single detail because maybe you like creating custom packages. But if there's nothing there, then of course you're going to get people inquiring with maybe $2,000 and you're charging $5,000. And maybe you can sell them on like a partial upgrade, but you're probably not going to get them booking your actual packages because that's just life. Not everyone has that 5 to 7. If you say starting at 5,000 and your packages truly are near that range, then most clients that inquire with you should be qualified leads because they're going to your site, they're seeing what your starting price is, and they understand that you sit in a price range that they're able to afford, or else they would never waste their time and your time getting on a phone call with you. Now, if say I have seen people, even myself, where I'd say starting at 5, but maybe like some clients were like, you're starting at 5 for like a 4-hour package or for like an elopement or for a small wedding package, but the average client needs 10 or 12 hours. And for some reason, your 10 or 12 hour package is $9,000. Okay, that is another reason some people might say you're out of budget because you're starting at price that's getting them in the gate and getting them inquiring with you is nowhere near your actual average investment price. So I would also say in that sense, say you do have a very wide range because you want to be able to hit multiple different like parts of the market. That's fine. Maybe if you don't want to share your full pricing on your website, maybe share your average investment instead of your starting price. And if you're putting your starting price at like $2,000, but your average wedding is 5 to 7 because that's what your elopements cost, have a starting elopement price and a starting wedding price. There's no reason to mix those. Also, one thing I've seen with someone I've helped in the past was on their pricing guide, they had their elopement prices, which were like $2,000 or $3,000, and their wedding prices were like more, like 5, 7, and up. And if anything, having those on the same guide, I understand elopements are less work, they're less hours normally, but having those on the same guide, if anything, diminishes your value to the clients that are inquiring for a wedding. And clients inquiring for a wedding do not need to see elopement prices or packages because that's not what they're inquiring for. So maybe you're in that scenario. Cut that out. Separate those two. Elopement packages on one guide, wedding prices on the other. You don't want to diminish your value to a potential client that's wanting to book you. Now, as far as them just saying you're out of budget, if you are showing your starting price and it say is 5 and you say you charge 5 to 7, then most likely the reason is not budget, unless there's no way for them to find that starting price on your website. Like it's complicated, hard to get to, hard to understand. That could be a reason. Maybe they don't even know what you start at and they just assume something lower. That's okay. Maybe send a little bit about your pricing in your first email to them. That way they're aware, because in my opinion, there's no reason to waste your time with clients who just aren't qualified leads. No reason to waste their time either. There's some coaches who will tell you like, no, you can upsell them. If you get on a call with them, you can book them. Quite frankly, if someone only has $2,000, they only have $2,000. I'm sorry, they're not going to spend $7,000. There's no reason for us to waste our time getting on a call with them. So if this is a common thing for you, I'd say some advice is maybe just make your pricing very aware. And if you are making your pricing aware and then you still tell me, Summer, they're saying I'm out of budget, they just don't want to upset you. They don't know what to say. And saying, oh, I can't afford you, that's an easy cop-out when something else is the issue. Maybe they just didn't connect with you. Maybe they didn't like the packages. Maybe the packages were hard to understand. Maybe there was something in the booking process that wasn't made simple. Maybe they found someone else that they were like, booking this person, it's easier. There could be so many things. And I'm not saying you're doing anything wrong, but I am saying money is normally never the actual issue. And I actually also, even in my position, I know so many people would be like, no, don't change your prices for clients. Even in my position today, I always end an email with, if there's anything I can do, or if there's, anything you need and we need to make a custom package of some sort, let me know. I'm always down to do that. With saying that, and with them seeing starting prices on my website, seeing my pricing guide before we ever hop on a call together, price is not the issue. So maybe do something for yourself, list your starting price, maybe send that guide. And if you're still getting that price is the reason that they're saying they're out of budget, it's not convincing them you're worth it. It's making a brand that shows people you're worth it before you ever even speak to them. That's enough on pricing. But I hope that answers your question. I hope you're not like, no, like they're out of budget. I hope you listen to my advice and understand that price is normally never the issue. So put some of those practices in place, and I'd love to see what comes of this. But just know it's normally never price. Look at your approach. Look at your packages. Are they easy to book? Do they make sense? Do the ways that they change make sense? The increments that the pricing increases? Do the things that it include make sense? Are there too many add-ons and that's overwhelming? You never know what the actual issue is. But I would try to dig deeper and maybe change some things. Do some testing with your packages or your pricing. Also, okay, one more note. Where are the clients coming from? If they're word of mouth, but the people you've networked with in person are no longer qualified leads, you might need to meet more people and build a different word of mouth, because this is just something that popped into my brain that I actually went through, where the people I knew that were referring me, that were like friends, obviously weren't wealthy, but my price bracket that I was in was, and so maybe I was getting some clients inquiring that didn't have the money. But normally I would never make it to the point of a phone call. I would just say like, hey, here's my pricing. If they're like, oh, that's out of budget, I'd be like, hey, here's some people that you could totally work with. And we're solving that issue before I'm ever getting on a call with them. It's not really a price issue. It's just like they took the chance to inquire with me knowing that I probably wouldn't be a good fit. But, anyways, so maybe you're reaching that point where most of your referrals were word of mouth, they were friends, and you've raised your prices and you've outpriced your market that you were in. And you just need to work into getting into a new one. Work on your marketing. It's normally never a price issue. It's normally a marketing issue. It's normally that you're not having the right people inquire. And you just have to figure out how and what that means for your business, whoever submitted this. Anyways, next. I've had a third of my weddings for 2025 break off their engagement. Well, obviously, I'm extremely heartbroken for these couples, but I'm also wondering if maybe I'm somehow marketing to non-committed couples on accident, coincidence, or not, with 3 question marks. That's a lot of people that broke off their engagement. I highly, highly doubt it's your issue. I mean, maybe if you're like an elopement photographer, maybe somehow statistically we can find that elopements are more likely to break off their engagement because, they're normally a more rushed or sporadic thing. I have no idea. I don't know if that's a real statistic, but I could see it being a thing. Maybe if you're like maybe there's certain styles that like are more edgy, and then people are more likely, they're more artsy and more likely to break off their engagement. I have no clue. I doubt any way that you are acting is attracting this. What's funny, this is kind of advice, kind of not advice, but I have probably at least around one, when I was doing, it also probably depends on how many weddings you're doing a year. Because when I was doing 30, 40 weddings a year, I also would have at least one wedding a year break off their engagement. And it just became normal, which was weird. But what I now do with clients is I always make the joke, like, your deposit is non-refundable. I'm sorry. And then I make the joke of, and unfortunately, I know that this won't happen to you, to the client. I know this won't happen to you. There's no way it'll happen to you. You've been together for X amount of years. You've been together for 10 years, or you're so in love, or whatever. But, I normally have about one client break up a year. And I literally tell these people so that it gets it wrapped around their head that this can happen. this is a serious thing. Also, that deposit is not coming back. Because if you had 3 weddings break off, like their engagement, depending on how much you cost, that could be like a $20,000 to $30,000 negative in your business finances. So definitely have deposits. If whoever I'm speaking to, make sure you have non-refundable deposits and make it clear to people. It most likely is just a fluke. I highly doubt it's who you're marketing to, but just know that it's happened to me too. Normally about once a year. This year I'm doing less. Last year I was doing less weddings now that I'm educating more. So I don't think it happened now that I'm thinking about it. But almost every year before that in business, I would have at least one couple break up. It's just crazy and very sad, but it happens. One time I didn't even know. I was literally supposed to go to their wedding. I was planning my travel. I was booking flights. And before I booked them, I was like, you know what? I haven't heard from them in a while. I'm going to contact them. Ghosted. And then randomly, 3 weeks later, I'm like, okay, the wedding is literally in a month. What is going on? The not husband, because they didn't end up getting married, but the guy, he ended up emailing me and asked for his deposit back. And I'd never even spoken to him, once maybe on an inquiry call, but I was communicating with the bride and I was like, sir, I don't know what's going on. You are not getting this. I don't even know you. And the wedding is in 2.5 weeks. No. So anyways, I know that sounds bad, but it just is what it is. It's business. And I'm sorry for your couples. I know it sucks. And it's a really sucky position to be in as a business owner as well. Next, let's see. I'm a starting wedding videographer with packages 2 to 3, 5K. Maybe they have 2, 3.5. I have no idea. I'm thinking they're saying I have 2 packages between 3 and 5,000. I think that's what they're saying. And they said, is that too high? I feel like we have decent work, but so many doubts. Last year we did our first 10 weddings ever pro bono. And then they dropped their Instagram, which I'm not going to look this up mid podcast because I feel like that would be strange. But anyways, I'm taking your word, and then I'm going to look at your work after this, taking your word that your work is good. And if your work is honestly at least, okay, fine, I'm going to look it up. Let's see. Let's find their Instagram. I'm not going to comment about the work, but I just want to know where they live and where they're based out of. Okay, so they're based out of Chicago. Oh, the videos look great. Videos look great. Normal wedding videos. Beautiful. So what I was going to say based off of where they live, I just want to make sure that they live in America because we get a lot of people that don't. And so I just want to make sure they live in America. They live in Chicago. Yay. So anyways, if their packages are about anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000, which maybe is what they're asking about, I do not think that that's too high at all. My first wedding I ever shot was above $2,000, and my packages were in the 2,000 to 4,000 range with the first weddings I had ever done in my entire career. And I did not do pro bono free weddings. I did maybe 2 second shooting 3 years before I decided to do weddings. So I hit the ground running at a $2,000 to $4,000 price point, and this was years and years ago. So you right now, with you actually having a portfolio and you did a lot of free weddings, you did at least 10, and I'm sure you did even more work than that, that price range is completely good. The only reason that price range might not be good is if you just don't have the marketing to bring in people that want to spend that. But put in some work on your marketing, get some inquiries in, because that price range is very average. People will be willing to spend that want to hire a videographer. You just need to get yourself in front of those people. So anyways, yeah, that price range, completely fine. That is very on par with just normal, average wedding videography pricing. If anything, as you build up your portfolio even more and get even better marketing, you should be able to charge a lot. I feel like good videographers are not cheap. Whenever my clients are yeah, I want video, but I only want to spend $4,000. I'm I don't have any recommendations for you, because all the good videographers I know are so much, because that is I feel like videography is harder than photography. So Well, I don't know. I feel like I'm a photographer, so of course I'm going to think videography is harder. And maybe a videographer would think photography is hard. I have no idea. But anyways, it makes sense that they charge a lot because there's a lot that goes into it, in my opinion. Moving on. Hi. I was wondering how you go about networking with planners. I want to move into the higher end wedding space, but I don't really know how to make that jump. Whew, that's a loaded question. So, in-person networking is not like a easy, short, this is your one answer to accomplish this, like kind of answer. There's so many different ways to network in person. I've literally had someone disagree with me that this is a horrible idea and that it's like unethical, but I will tell you guys anyways. Which I don't think it is. But anyways, so maybe if you do think it is, whatever. I do not care. But one time I literally went to a wedding show as a like ticketed person, not as a person with a booth. So wedding shows, like big shows with like hundreds of wedding vendors and potential clients walk through and, like shop around, I guess. And so I went to one. Me and Jake were planning our wedding, so I guess that was kind of our excuse. Like, oh yeah, we were genuinely. I actually did like hit up one of the makeup artists. But anyways, most people we were meeting were like, oh yeah, we are engaged, but that's actually not why I'm here. I'm newer to the area, and I don't know a ton of wedding vendors yet. And so I thought this would be a great way to meet. And so many people were so excited to be meeting people because most people that go to those things, they know that the power of in-person relationships and building those connections is so important. And I was like, yeah, like I just want to meet some more people. I'm newer to Seattle. I thought it'd be a great place to like see a lot of different types of vendors all at once. You know what I mean? And that was because too, I didn't know about a lot of in-person networking type events. Like you don't know about these things unless you know about them. So I just went to that because I saw an ad like online and someone told me they're like, I would be like upset if you interrupted my time that I paid to have a booth to like network for yourself. And I was like, that just wasn't the feedback I got from the people that I met. I made sure that I only introduced myself to like people I really thought I would enjoy working with. And I made sure that it was really genuine when I was introducing myself to them. And I made amazing connections. So I tell people today, I'm like, why spend $3,000 or $4,000 on a booth when you could spend $25 and walk around? And if there's, no one new to meet, you don't have to meet anyone. You can just walk around, have a good time, be around other vendors in your space. I don't see anything wrong with that. I think it's a great thing to do, especially for beginners who like might not have the $4,000 to buy a booth at an event like that. But anyways, I don't feel like that's necessarily normally how you go about moving into a higher end space. I think a lot of people having booths are in a mid to average space in the wedding industry because that's the kind of clients that are shopping. So clients that have a lot of money that are in the higher end, more luxury space, I'm sorry, but those clients, they're not walking around a wedding show. It's not how they're finding their wedding vendors. They're hiring a wedding planner. That planner is hiring the wedding vendors. And sometimes you might not even get to speak to the client with those types of clientele. Like I've had a wedding where I would have never spoken with the client had they not DM'd me personally. They were busy. They hired a wedding planner. That was why they hired a wedding planner. There's nothing wrong with that. Anyways, so getting those kind of clients, does normally come from having really good connections with planners and or maybe this new agency thing that's starting in the industry. There's like a lot of luxury photographers getting signed to like almost luxury agencies. I have no idea fully. I've talked about this in a couple podcasts, but we have no idea fully what this is going to look like or how it's going to evolve or change the industry, but it's happening. But yeah, networking with planners. I mean, there's so many ways to do it. You could DM them on Instagram. I was actually teaching in a luxury workshop once, but I'm like not even fully in the luxury scene. I actually don't really care to fully pursue it, and we could dive into that one day. I think I'm actually teaching a class on like anti-luxury, like in a seminar coming up with a what is that called? Like a, oh my gosh, my brain, when people all talk. LOL, basically a workshop, but it's online. I don't know, an online workshop. Anyways, I'm speaking of one, kind of like on the opposite of luxury. But I'm not saying I'm in the luxury space or not in it. I would say I'm not really in it. I would say I'm in like maybe a higher end space for sure. But I kind of want to reach like multiple demographics of people. I don't want to be limited to only people with a lot of money because I just, I would rather find my money in other ways through teaching, through mentoring, through hosting events, through podcasting, through selling presets. That way I can work with whoever I want to in my wedding business. I don't need that income to come from like high-end weddings. But anyways, that was the reality I hit from trying to pursue the luxury market for like a year and a half and realizing, you know what? Really hardcore pursuing it, it's not for me. But anyways, if it is for you, I will say I networked my little booty off. I went to so many events. I went to so many galas. I did it all. WIPA, WIPA. WIPA is a great resource. There's normally WIPAs in most states. This is inside of America, so I hope you live in America. I don't know if they have WIPAs in other countries. They might. I genuinely don't know if that's only an American organization or if there's WIPAs in other states. You can go to WIPA's, WIPA. I would say there's like every type of vendor that would go to that. Like there's some high-end vendors that go to WIPA events. There's normal wedding vendors that go to WIPA events. It draws a wide crowd. So it's a good thing to go to if it makes sense for you, for your city's chapter. Every city's chapter is different as well. Like I've seen a lot of high-end vendors, like luxury vendors, go to like the Philadelphia one and the New York one, but like maybe not as many go to like some other cities one. There's a specific city I can see that I can picture in my mind. And I was like, oh, that one wasn't as high end as this one. And I even feel like LA's isn't as high end as some of the Northeast. So I feel like it really depends on where you live as to how high end WIPA, the people that go to WIPA events actually are. I went to Kindred last year. It's a newer networking event hosted by Indigo Events and Design. It was amazing. It was expensive. Luxury is not like a cheap thing to get into. And it was invite only. But I mean, message those people. I think there's a wait list. Like get your face in front of them. Kindred Collective. It is a event only for luxury planners and photographers. I think videographers as well, of course. And it's so cool. They bring these people together. And basically when I went last year to the first one, it was almost like what I call like speed dating. So a lot of networking events, they're these big parties, they're elaborate, they're galas, they're all these things. And they're so loud, you can't actually make good connections. Whereas Kindred was so intentional. It was beautiful. Basically, they make you fill out a questionnaire about yourself. I think you even could have taken a call, like telling them about yourself, and then they do the same thing with planners, and then they actually pair photographer, videographers with planners almost in like a speed dating networking thing in between breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then there was excursions the other days. And so you get to intentionally meet people that they actually think that you would work well together with, which I just thought was so cool. I mean, that makes the money like so much more worth it, that you're actually getting paired with people and like meeting new people and making like real and good connections. So that was super awesome. Another high-end networking space you could get involved in is Engage summits. They're like conference workshops. I will say I've never been to one. They are very expensive, but also if you're into high-end and you're into like fashion, they're really fun. People go dressed to the nines. Like it looks like an absolute blast. I think had I not pursued education and I had pursued the luxury space more, I probably would have definitely gone to one. But they can be a lot. I mean, I know of people spending well over 10 grand sometimes going to these things. So now the non-complicated, less expensive answer I could give you is just to find them on Instagram and connect with them. I got into this and I didn't finish my statement, but I was teaching in a luxury like online workshop once, but I was actually teaching on social media to luxury photographers because a lot of them, they built all of their business off in-person relationships and they don't actually have like much of a lot of them maybe struggle with their like online social presence. So I was actually teaching on Instagram and I got to stick around and like listen to the rest of it. And it was really cool because after it, they had planners on for 2 different rounds of like Q&A panels. And one of the photographers asked, the panel of planners, if I wanted to like meet you and network in this space, like how would I do that? Like how can I like get into it, you know? And one of them said, you know, maybe I get asked to coffee or to dinner all the time. And quite frankly, I do not have time to get coffee or dinner with random strangers. I don't have time for that. And she was like, but one time this photographer offered to ask to take free family photos for my family. And I said yes. And I was so grateful. And she was like, and now every time I walk down my staircase, I am reminded of this photographer and how good she is. And she was like, that was smart. And I was like, oh, that is such a good point. So anyways, find them on Instagram. Maybe don't just ask them to like go out to coffee with you because maybe they won't have time, especially if they just don't know you or you don't know their friends. There's nothing like in it for them. Offer to do something for them. Offer to, you know, take some photos for them. Take some branding photos. Take some family photos. Like do whatever it takes to just like get involved in that community. There's so many more answers to this as well. Like we could go on a deep dive of ways to network, but I will end it there. Next question. Because, man, I'm a rambler. How do you navigate people in the industry who are only in it for words. How do you navigate people in the industry who are only in it for notoriety or opportunistic relationships? I'm annoyed by the inauthenticity and lack of actual connections these days. This, I feel like, is a question that for me to fully understand, I would need more information. I need to know what you mean by that, like what kind of person you mean by that. I feel like I'm a pretty optimistic person, and so I just don't face things like this often. If anything, the advice I would give you is make new friends and meet different people. There's going to be inauthentic people or bad people in every industry, in every part of every career, every job place, life, friendships, religious spaces. I'm like thinking about all places that there will be inauthentic or people in it only for themselves. Like it's going to be everywhere. Anywhere you can think of, even the most holy places, there's going to be people that are in it for themselves, that have selfish motives. That is just life. That is how, not like I'm saying this is how we were created, but like we are not perfect, and there are bad people in the world, but there are good people at the same time that do want authentic relationships and do want real connections and do want real relationships and relationships built with love and sacrifice and friendship and joy. And those people are out there. And so if anything, I would say the advice I would give is not how we navigate these people, but how do you navigate to find the right people? How do you put yourself in the places where you're not even bogged down by these people, because these people are going to exist everywhere? How do you put yourself in the places where you don't even think of those people, because the only people you're surrounded by are good people? Surround yourself with good people. If this is how you're feeling, I have a feeling you have surrounded yourself with not the best people in the industry. Maybe you need to unfollow or mute some of those people that are bothering you, and you need to go out and network and make some friends with people who really are in it for the right reasons and who are caring and loving and are finding joy in just the everyday part of this business. Those people are out there. I have met so many amazing people these last few years of networking. I've probably met the opposite as well, people that are in it for themselves, where their ego is too large. But honestly, I just don't think about those people. Like, if I meet them, I just don't follow up with them. I don't think about them. Like, surround yourself with good people and good things will come. I genuinely believe that. So if anything, the advice I would give is make new friends. And if you're bothered by it because you're seeing it online or something, unfollow those people and follow the right people, and just don't worry about them. There's going to be bad people in every space. It is not just photography that people want notoriety or opportunistic relationships or where people are inauthentic. That is literally everywhere. That is just life. So surround yourself with good people. And that is really all I have to say. I feel like I've learned that just from life. Like, the people you surround yourself will truly change how you feel about yourself and the world around you. And the things you consume will change that. Like maybe you're consuming the wrong kind of social media. I mean, I can think about that even just in today's world that we're going through right now. Like, I'm very careful of what I consume because I only want to consume things that are fulfilling. And so anyways, don't subscribe to like things that would bog you down. I mean, it sounds so simple, but I truly mean it. Like, change your explore feed, change what you're consuming. That way it's not bothering you and it's not something you're thinking about often. But that is all from me and today's advice column. Hopefully soon we'll be having on some great guests. I had someone scheduled, but then Georgia freaked out and they were scheduled like 2 weeks ago. We were scheduled once. She went psycho. Not the guest, my daughter. And so anyways, I'm hoping this person will get back on soon, and I'm hoping to have more amazing guest episodes for all of you. But for now, it's me, and I hope this has been fun. And if you've enjoyed these kinds of episodes, definitely subscribe, no matter like wherever you are. If you're on YouTube, click subscribe. If you're on Spotify, I think you click like follow. I actually don't know that off the top of my head right now. But if you can leave a review somewhere, go ahead and do that. Give us a little rating and review. And if you love summer school, share the podcast with a friend. That would mean the world. And definitely tell all of your friends about the subscription platform that's coming, that they should subscribe to the email list, because people are not going to want to miss out on this platform. It's going to be so beautiful, and I'm so stoked. Maybe even I make some sort of gift for like the first 20 subscribers or something. Maybe we have summer school merch. I only have 2 weeks to figure this out, but if I figure it out, maybe that happens. Honestly, I kind of want that. I feel like summer school would be like the cutest merch, like a little hat or something. Anyways, you heard it here first. Definitely subscribe to that email list, and I cannot wait to see you guys next week. Bye, guys.